China has rejected a plan by the World Health Organization.
Some people may not get infected ever.
China has identified the cause.
The country is now facing a new wave of COVID-19 infections.
The growing concerns in China.
It's a new type of coronavirus.
This new virus.
Coronavirus.
COVID-19.
It's a new type of coronavirus.
Attention everyone! The world is once again on high alert as the specter of COVID-19 re-emerges. Yes, you heard it right. The coronavirus is back! From a zero-COVID policy that failed badly to slowly opening its borders only to be met with yet another devastating variant of the virus. Is COVID back? Let's see what China's future action plan is all about. But before we do that, let's retrace our steps here and go all the way back to 2019 when this virus shook the entire world. Origin of COVID-19 pandemic. In 2019, doctors in China noticed an influx of patients complaining of flu-like symptoms that seemed to be getting worse day by day. While X-ray radiographs showed pneumonic changes in the lungs of the patients, none of the physicians could compare these patterns to existing respiratory diseases. The first cases of the virus were linked to a seafood market in the city, which suggested a zoonotic origin for the mysterious disease. After multiple failed diagnoses and treatment regimens on December 31st, 2019, the first official case of COVID-19 was informed to the World Health Organization from Wuhan, China. By early January 2020, Chinese health authorities had identified the novel coronavirus, later named SARS-CoV-2, as the culprit behind this outbreak. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic was caused by a novel coronavirus named SARS-CoV-2. It was genetically similar to the virus that caused the SARS outbreak in 2003. Since COVID-19 was transmitted via droplets and contact, mask mandates went up and countries all around the world went into lockdown. The early days of COVID-19. Remember those 2 weeks in March 2020 when everyone said it's just the flu and it'll all be normal soon? Yeah, that never happened. Instead, we had to embrace a new normal and Skype went out of business. Zoom stock skyrocketed overnight and online classes became a thing. But the number of cases began to increase pretty quickly too. By mid-January 2020, China reported its first death due to the virus, and as cases surged, the government took radical measures to control the spread. Wuhan, a city of 11 million people and the epicenter of the breakout, was placed under lockdown on January 23, 2020. None of the citizens could use public transport and they were forced to stay within the city until the wave died down. This was China's first instance of its zero-COVID policy. After that, similar policies were implemented in other provinces of the country, such as travel restrictions and quarantine protocols. Public places were closed down to contain the virus, and the government became busy with testing services and contract tracing. Temporary hospitals were erected within days, and healthcare workers flew in from across the country to help overwhelmed regions. At the same time, the government sped up manufacturing essential medical supplies, including personal protective equipment and ventilators. But despite these efforts, the initial weeks saw an overwhelming number of cases and deaths. The healthcare system in Wuhan in particular was strained, leading to shortages of medical equipment and overwhelmed hospitals. And even though the government tried its best to control the spread, the virus found its way to other regions within China and began to make its way across international borders. Stick with us till the end to find out how the government's tackling COVID this time. Is the virus back? Well, while the pandemic has been relatively under control for a while now, there's a new normal in town. Even though the disease has become endemic in some regions, there are still plenty of active COVID-19 cases around the world. Wait until you hear the numbers of the outbreak. In December 2023, there were concerning signs of a resurgence of COVID cases in China. The number of reported cases during Epidemiology Week 51 soared to 22,413 compared to 17,307 in the previous week. This was a significant increase, and it wasn't just China that saw these kinds of numbers. According to the World Health Organization, globally, new COVID-19 cases have increased by 52% in just 1 month. Many experts have linked this surge to a subvariant of the Omicron variant, which was first detected in Japan in 2021. The BF7 subvariant hasn't been officially classified by WHO or the US SARS-CoV-2 interagency group, but several countries are closely monitoring it. In early 2023, it contributed to an increase in COVID infections across China and was linked to the outbreak in Beijing too. But it appears there's another subvariant on the rise that might become a cause for concern soon. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Emergence of COVID-19 alert. The JN1 subvariant is not exactly new. It's a descendant of the BA2.86 variant known as Parola and was first spotted in the United States in September 2023. Although JN1 differs from Parola with just one extra mutation on the spike protein, Parola itself holds over 30 mutations. The reason that's a little alarming is because these viral mutations are really good at sneaking their way into human cells. And that's exactly why many people are worried whether a surge in JN1 will lead to severe symptoms or not. Initially, there were concerns that Parola's numerous mutations might evade immune responses and spread rapidly, but this hasn't happened yet. Studies by the WHO showed that serum from individuals who had been infected or vaccinated effectively neutralized both Parola and JN1. Right now, there's no evidence suggesting that JN1 causes severe infection because there aren't many cases reported in China yet. However, that still does not rule out the possibility that it can become a dominant strain. Daily numbers are on the rise and cities like Beijing and Guangzhou are seeing the brunt of it. Some experts have attributed the spread of the virus to emerging variants. However, others believe that the ease of transmission is a likely factor too. The winter months and holiday gatherings are ground zero for infectious spread, so it's likely that the rise in cases is linked to that. Aside from that, China has recently lifted plenty of travel restrictions too, so there's been an influx of imported cases as well. Now that the entry-exit health declaration QR code is no longer required and most passengers don't have to show a negative PCR on arrival, the relaxed travel restrictions could also play a role in the spread. Not only that, but even though Chinese citizens have always taken mask mandates seriously, there's still some public fatigue with mask wearing. China's response to COVID all over again. Despite the ease of restrictions, the Chinese government is taking immediate action to prevent another colossal outbreak. Earlier in 2023, China was one of the last countries around the world to lift their mask mandates for public spaces. But it appears that they might just go back up in some places. In fact, even WHO has suggested that the government bring back COVID-like measures once again. After some cases were reported from hospitals in Beijing and Liaoning, a province nearly 500 miles northeast of the capital, health facilities in the region were overwhelmed by the growing number of cases. Not only that, but in some areas, classes were suspended temporarily due to a high number of children falling sick. According to the local reports, the children infected by the virus ended up with a high fever and inflammation in their lungs, and this triggered a warning from ProMed, a disease surveillance system that also warned about the mysterious infection in Wuhan in 2019. For now, WHO has advised residents to continue wearing masks and avoid contact with infected people. They've also urged people to stay at home in case they are feeling unwell, so it looks like China's probably going to have to set up some new policies. When the country saw a sharp increase in respiratory diseases in November 2023, Chinese officials shifted the blame to mycoplasma, pneumonia, and RSV, but it doesn't look like these new infections have the same pathology. Right now, ProMed's waiting for China to release more data concerning these new infections to learn more about the etiology and scope of the illness. But the good news is that China has been pushing the vaccine agenda proactively. China's vaccination program. To prevent future coronavirus pandemics, the country has just introduced its first ever 4-valent COVID vaccine to tackle 4 different strains of the virus. Known as SCTV-01E, this vaccine is produced by Sinocell Group Limited, a pharmaceutical company in Beijing. It's a recombinant protein vaccine and is now available at vaccination centers across Beijing, Hangzhou, Wenzhou, and Wenling in the eastern Zhejiang province. This move is part of China's efforts to speed up vaccinations as they face a rise in infections. And they've also started conducting mass testing to locate patient zeros in specific areas. Speaking of, unlike their zero COVID policy that consisted of crippling citywide shutdowns, this time the government is focusing more on specific areas to take the pressure off its economy and its residents. Well, finally, we are at the end of the video. As we conclude our exploration into the question, is COVID back, and delve into China's future action plan, one thing becomes clear. The fight against this virus is far from over. Will China learn from its mistakes, or can we expect another pandemic in the future? What do you think? Join us next time for more in-depth analysis and insights here at EcoBuzz. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to know about more global issues. Until then, stay safe and be informed. Let us know what you think in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.